all mindset. I mean, you need to have the quality marketing, you need to have everything we teach, in the background, but it is mindset. Fee is mindset. It's believing that you can get the money, believing you can get the fee, and then showing the client why it's value for money.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is David Warburton. As ever, I'm joined by my colleagues in the industry, legends in the industry, and all-round idiots as well, because Ian's making a stupid face, as is James Kendall. So it's Ian Storey and James Kendall. Lads, how's your week been? To Ian Storey.
Well, funny enough, lads, now you asked the question, it's fantastic in terms of new listings. It's fantastic in terms of pipeline. It's fantastic in terms of banked fees and exchanges, and we're on target for our big number turnover. It's less fantastic on the amount of properties we've got on the market, servicing clients and getting them sold. Now, we're going to come on to talk about it, I know, but that's where I'm at sort of currently, and we'll expand on that in the pod. In terms of new listings, it's always good, really. We had a cracker at 800, a character house, beauty at 1.75, really nice with a 1.5 acre plot, 2%. And I've recently used a new technique, which Michelle, our sales progressor, suggested to me, which is to get a client who's been really happy to record a video that you can send to potential clients about why they used you and how they found your fee high. And it almost made them not use you, but they went on to use you. And, obviously it went very well. So I've got this client who's £1.5 million house we sold at 2%. A guy called Rick, total ledge. And he recorded a video, and it wasn't professional. I wanted it to be raw, done on his phone, him looking into his phone. It's like, hi, Ian, as promised, I said I'd record this video for you. And that's worked really well. That secured us a listing at 1.5 yesterday. And I've got another client who's going to do another video similarly. So I would suggest anyone adopts that method if they can. So new listings are good. A couple of good sales in the pipe. But I'm at that state. I'm at one of those periods in the year where you're like, Jesus, I've got so many nice houses on the market, but I just need to sell them. And I know that it happens. I know it'll come, because it always does. But you just got to manage your way through that process. But overall, numbers wise, it's all good. Yeah.
Let's just quickly go back a step, Ian, and we'll obviously get the review of the week done. But when you got the video, and I have seen the video, and you shared it with myself, JK, and the TCA members yesterday, it's very, very good. And it's a great endorsement for your company. And it comes across very sincere as well. I don't think it looks forced at all, like you said. So how did you get the guy to do that? And how did you, because I'm assuming you maybe asked him to, you might not have done actually, maybe you gave him a steer on what would help you, I don't know.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how did you do that? It was really good.
He's like our biggest fan. His bio was an absolute nightmare. His bio is actually a well-known TV personality, but obviously I won't mention any names. But his bio was an absolute nightmare through the entire process. She was lovely, but she was a nightmare.
What does the name rhyme with?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
And basically, he was our biggest fan. I sold it well on the initial val. The marketing was amazing. We got a good price. Then sales progression was handled very well. And he was our biggest fan. So at the end of the process, he was like, whatever I can do to help you, please let me know. I'm happy for you to give out my telephone number. I'm happy for you I'll do you a testimonial, blah, blah, blah. And Michelle had this idea of, look, tell him or ask him to record a video. So I said, Rick, will you do us a video? And I know he's social media savvy anyway, so he wasn't bothered about how he looks or how he sounds, He said, yeah, no problem. He said, give me a steer on what to say. So I said, obviously, be honest, but it needs to be along the lines of, why did you call us out? I know you have multiple agents. Why did you choose us? Please specifically mention that our fee is higher. Yeah. And obviously you questioned that, which I know he did. And then talk about how you found the sales progression and how you found us versus other agents when you were buying. And he did one version, which he sent to me, and I asked him to tweak a couple of things. And then he sent a couple of versions back, which are the versions that I've sent to you. So you need to pick the right client. We've got another client, another 1.5er. This week, who's also really sound guy and who's also been really impressed. He's been buying with a couple of really well-known premium national agent, and he's been blown away by the difference in the service. So I asked him yesterday if he would do as a video as well. And I want to have sort of 2 or 3 at my fingertips that I can send to people who are quibbling on the
sit
fee.
in your proposal as well, can't it?
Yeah, it could do, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good. Oh, I would do, 100%.
Even a QR code in the plan.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
mate. I think that's a great idea. Great. Well, no, mate, it's really good, and I think it's something that everyone can do. You just got to ask, and that's why I was asking the question: was there a sort of a general guide that you gave the gentleman? But no, it was good, very, very good. JK, what about you? How's your week been, mate?
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're obviously back up again on sales agreed. You know, there's a little bit of a blip last month, but again, I think that a lot of that was down to sort of management stock and getting stock on the market. Whereas now, you know, we're kind of back firing. I mean, I say it was a blip last month, but you know, sometimes you have to reframe and look back, don't you, and realise that you know it was a sort of a bump in the road, but you know, it's looking at where I was 7 or 8 years ago. You know, I'd ripped your arm off for that result.
Yeah. There is a check yourself type moment, isn't there?
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, you do get accustomed to, you know, doing a certain amount every month, etc. So, you know, we're quite good out of the block so far this month. What'll be the 5th of the month, and we've got 2 deals done already. We're working on a couple of other deals at the moment. I've got negotiating on one at 525. I'm negotiating on one at 625. We're negotiating at one at 1.25. We've got like 4 or 5 different, I think, offers on the table at the moment that we're dealing with. One dependent one, again at 1.25, another 2%er, which is always nice if it comes off. Hoping to get the house off the back of that as well. In terms of new listings as well, we've got some really good stuff coming on. We've got Richard's put one on today. The weather's a little bit dodge, which has messed us up recently with the wind and the rain and the lack of sun. So we've had to move a few bits around, which has caused us a few issues. But Richard's doing a nice one today. Come off the obviously market updates that we send out, which is really nice for him to get one in that area. I've got another one coming next week at a mill. Rich has just had a message from somebody sent a proposal to 18 months ago saying they're now ready and they want to go ahead. That's a really nice one in a really good village at 900. Got one in the town centre, 475. Another one in a village locally at 575. And another one, bit of a project place at 1.25. So, you know, we've got kind of stuff happening. I've been to quite a few vals. We might touch on it on the pod this week when we start talking and going into bits and pieces. But I went to one this week and it was a big house, nearly 2 million. And it sounds a really strange thing to say, but I came away from it not that bothered whether I got it or not. And I think I said to you lads, you know, in our little group chat, you know, I went out there and, you know, the seller was blown away by the presentation, blown away by all of the marketing, etc. And he goes, yeah, well, you know, just the problem is your fee. And I suppose, you know, you've had all these other people out. They're all quoting half of what I've quoted, sometimes even less. Dave, you had an instance like that this week as well yourself. And perhaps we'll talk about that and touch on the slow, medium and fast sale method that people seem to be using. But yeah. But I just, you know what it was? Because, you know, when you're busy and you've got lots going on, I think, you know, it's testament to the consistency we put in with the market updates. You know, when you know that you're booking 40, 50 vals a month, you just know there's another one round the corner. When someone says to you, you know, and the thing is as well, it's a nice house, but it was just a big house. You know, it didn't blow me away. I didn't go into it going, amazing marketing of this is going to be amazing. It was just a big house, and it was very average. And I just thought, you don't really appreciate what we do. What you would like is, you'd like the nice marketing and you'd like somebody like me to sell your house, but you want to pay peasant prices, basically. And you could just tell by sometimes, I don't know if you guys feel like this as well. Sometimes when you walk through the door of the house that you're about to value, quote unquote, sometimes you can tell whether they're your kind of house or not. And you get a vibe as to whether they're going to go, yeah, Yeah, we'll have it. And what I mean by that is that you walk in and, the kitchen's the top of the range kitchen, the bathroom's the top of the range, the furniture's top of the range. They want quality. They love quality. They live and breathe quality. So it's very much, unless you get the market data horribly wrong and the valuation horribly wrong or say something horribly wrong, there's a good chance that you're shooing for it because your brand aligns with their home and their values. And sometimes when I go into a place, and it's almost a high value home by default, just because of where it is and how big it is, but actually everything that's inside it and the way that it's presented and done, I would almost rather have, and I think I've said this before, a really mint house at 800 grand that's done to the nines, that sellers happy to pay 2%, wants all the marketing, etc., than I would have a house at 1.5, 2 million that doesn't want to pay the fee and is bang average inside. And I just sometimes feel like, you can look at the money and everything on paper, but I really struggle to sell houses that I can't get excited about.
Yeah, you've said that before. I tend to agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's an argument for all, really. There's all ends of the market. You can enjoy any end of the market. The secret is to just make sure that you do it right every single time, consistently. You spoke about that a lot last week, and but I think, I think it does have to align with your beliefs, and you owe it to the client for that as well. I think, because ultimately, if you're going into that house and you don't have the enthusiasm for it, you're probably not going to do them the best service, are you? Let's be honest.
It just turns me off though when someone goes, really like what you say, but somebody else has quoted me $7,000 on a £2 million house. I'm just thinking,
it turns me off too, but you've still always got to fight for it, haven't you?
But the thing, you say that though, right. But sometimes you don't want to. I didn't want to. I got to be honest. I went there and I was like, it's a big house. If I went there and I felt like, like, for example, I use it as an example, but the £2.25 million I sold last year, like, I love that. And he went in, he was a classic example that said, you're way higher than everyone else, blah, blah, blah. But and as you're quite right, I fought for that because I really wanted that house to sell, and I got it. I nailed it. I sold it. And Mrs. actually texted me yesterday about something else randomly. They're clients for life now and raving fans for life. And I'm sure that if I ask them to do a video similar, they'll do a video for me. But what the point I'm trying to articulate is that the house I went to, whilst I would have gladly taken it on if it had been the right sort of money and they'd appreciate what we do, they're motivated, etc. I would have taken it gladly, of course I would, and I would have done a great job on it. But when they knock me back and then start trying to pick holes and saying, well, we want you to do all of the viewings personally, this person's paying $7,000. I'm just thinking, do you know what? I could sell a house at 800 grand at 2% and make more money out of this, and I just lost all. Motivation, I suppose, but I just lost all interest. Really rapidly lost interest because they spent more time arguing about the fee and what a big problem the fee was, rather than actually listening and taking it on board. But I thought, whatever, I just move on. I've got another.
Yeah, no, I get it. I agree. Obviously, from what you've just said there, I probably wouldn't have taken that one on either. I think my point was just generally, some people say they don't want you, but you can still talk them round, can't you?
Of course, then, yeah.
You wow them into it, and then at the end of it, they're glad they did.
100%. No, and I agree with that as well, mate. I think sometimes people are just asking, and sometimes people are always just trying to get a deal, and it's then down to you to show your strength as a negotiator in there. But if you don't want it, then why would you fight for it? And,
of course, yeah, of course. Especially when you're really, really busy, like we all are. Like with listings and pipeline and stuff, when it's all at that kind of level, you just don't need it, do you?
It's almost, excuse me if you've got little ears, I'll give you a 5-second warning.
Dave's got massive ears, so you don't have to worry about that. What do you say, Spock?
If there's little ears listening in the car, turn this off now or silence it for 5 seconds. But it's almost to the point now when you've got lots going on, it's fuck you money. You don't have to beg for the business. That you've got plenty going on. You could say, all right, fuck off. See you later.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Anyway, my week, Dave.
It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling that as well when you can do
Good
that.
place to be. If that's where you want to be. Yeah, good. Thank you. I mean, we probably had our busiest month actually. In what was it? May? Just gone. May. Yeah. In terms of sales and instructions, exchanges were good as well. Actually, it wasn't the best exchange month, but it was a good exchange month. So, yeah, we're in good shape. And I can't really complain. My problem, as it has been for some time, is that I need help. And I'm nearly there, lads, as you know. So I'll not go into that now. But yeah, I mean, we've got so many in photography. Just looking at it now, 1, 2, 3. Well, I've got four or five ready to launch, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in photography. And very close, lads, very close to launching my new build site. Remember that one I told you about, the 9 luxury homes?
No, you hadn't mentioned it.
I spoke with the developer yesterday, so just about it's been delayed. He's been delayed, you know, but now they've started. So
yeah, so it's not fictional anymore. It's actually real, is it?
It's actually real, like your £3.5 million listing.
Yeah.
So we're now on with that. So that's good as well. So we're going to be launching those. So yeah, all very, very good. Just sort of relating to a couple of things you said there. You know, talking about walking away from stuff, and I went to a house yesterday, and it was absolutely mint. You know, it's a really beautiful house that was built in 2017. It's got all mod cons on it. It's one of these new design type houses that with the red brick and the big apexes. It's full of glass. It just looks amazing. Chandelier in the window. All looks incredible. Sits in about a third of an acre. It's on quite a busy main road, but it is set back and everything. Did all the data, looked at it, and area where it is. I was before I went and I hadn't seen it. I was thinking probably around 1 million, 1.1. And then when I got there, I'm like, wow, it is pretty special and something that maybe someone will pay a bit extra for. So when I went through the data again, 1.25. Agents before me had said around 1.7. And I'm like, I had to laugh. I was like, it's so far off. And this particular agent's got a reputation for massively overvaluing. And he said,
do you get a lot of that in your area, by the way, mate? Do you get a lot of people overvaluing and undercutting fees?
No, not really, mate. They're all pretty standard. They all value accurately and charge 2% plus. Every single agent. So I'd said to him, I said, like, I cannot, for the life of me, understand where she's got numbers from. And he said, I know, and I've asked her, and she's not come back to me. He said, can you back up your numbers and tell me where you got this from? Because I said to him, if that person thinks it's 1.7, you need to go on the market for 1.7. And if it doesn't work out, speak to me in a few months' time. And he even said himself, he said, I'd really like to get 1.5 for it. I just don't see it. So there's going to be a conversation to be had, because I think he does want to use us. But I just don't. I'm a bit like you, JK. I love the house. I could make a really good fist of it. I think it'll look amazing on the marketing. But it's just another one that'll sit there for a length of time, that'll need managing. And they are motivated to sell. That's the other thing that I have to take into account. They've got a new build that's going to be complete in November, so they're going to be motivated to sell throughout the journey. So it's one of those where you go, well, look, maybe we do try at your level, which is going to be best part of 10-15% over what I think it's worth. But he knows that. So if he goes into it with his eyes wide open and he respects our marketing and all that, I'll probably take it. But at the same time, I do think, yeah, sometimes no matter how much the value is, the reality is it's a liability until it's sold. And then the second experience I've had this week that we've touched on with fees, I got invited out. Well, we actually had a client. He's a bit out of area, and he's viewing 4 of our houses. So he said basically his feedback was, when he spoke to, I think it was Kate on the phone, he'd said that they're viewing houses in our areas, and he said they've been very, very impressed with the way we market homes. It's stand out. And he said he also liked the videos that we do. So he'd asked for a call back, and I gave him a call back. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he was very, very complimentary, which was great. And then he just asked us what our fee was. I told him. He said, oh my goodness, right. And he said, I've had 3 valuations, you see, already. And I said, okay. I said, do you mind me asking roughly what your house is worth? He said, well, it's around 2 million. I said, right, okay. I said, so you've had 3 valuations? He said, yes. And I said, well, who are you going to be using? And he actually said on the phone, he said, well, I've had the 3 valuations. I'm going to put it on with Yopa. I said, Yopa? I said, no disrespect to any Yopa agents that are listening, but I said,
Why?
Yopa. Yeah, well, yeah, sorry. Well, there are some nice agents anyway.
Of course, there are some.
And I said, with all due respect, you're selling a £2 million house. What are we talking fee wise? And he said, well, Yopa have quoted me £2,500 plus VAT. I said, I've had another local agent that I'll not mention that are charging £5,000 plus VAT. He said the most expensive agent Agent X was £10,000, including VAT.
Wow.
And I said,
big
right.
fees.
And I said, right, and you're going for the cheapest estate agent. What's making you choose the cheapest? And he actually said that, well, they all said the same thing. And when I've looked them up and looked at the stuff, they all look the same. They all look like they do the same
Brilliant.
thing. And he said, there's only you really that I've seen that does anything that's very, very standout and different. But he said, but it sounds like I'm going to have to pay for that. So I'd gone into the explanation about, look, it's not just about the way we look and the marketing. It's about the experience you'll have with the team, the communication, how sharp we are. But more than that, it comes down to the negotiation. The marketing, the exposure we give it, that will draw the people in, and the idea will be that we negotiate hard for you and we get you more money. So I'd left it with him, and I just said, go and have a think about it. I genuinely thought he'd gone. Just thought he's not going to bring me back if he's got 3 bids like that. Anyway, he did. He rang back. He booked in the valuation, and I went to see him, and the house is unreal. It's so nice. It is out of area, but the house is unreal. Sat in 4 acres. And
Where is it? It's not in Cheshire, is it?
It's in a place called Tarporley.
Oh, Tarporley.
Yeah.
Emphasis
no,
on
it's
poor.
It's actually over in Saddleworth. So it's a little bit out of area, but it's a beautiful place.
That's where all the...
Don't.
No. Okay, move on.
Don't do it. So anyway, beautiful house, absolutely amazing house, and it had actually been overvalued again, in my opinion. So he'd had valuations, some well over 2 million, but then the one that was quite interesting that I mentioned was that the agent that was charging £5,000 plus VAT. So they leave a postcard, and on the postcard it says, like printed, our fee is 1.25% plus VAT. That was crossed out, and they'd written fixed fee £5,000 plus VAT. So that indicates really that they're selling low end homes most of the time. Really.
Yeah.
So they crossed that out and said like they were doing a deal for him. And then they also had option 1, option 2, and option 3 for the asking price and where they thought the sale price would end. And basically he'd written down 2.3 million to accept 2.1, 2 million to accept 1.9, and then 1.9 to accept 1.8. And I said, well, what's he valued? What have they actually valued it at? What are they saying? Surely you just want the sale there that says 2.3 million to accept 2.1. Surely you just go with that. It doesn't make any sense. And he was basically saying, well, there's a fast, slow, medium, and a fast sale.
Right.
Now, the thing, absolutely bizarre.
I'll take the slow sale for more money then. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the slow sale and I'll make an extra £500,000, please.
Done.
But so when we'd gone through all the data and everything, it all points towards 1.75. So I just sort of said to him, like, when they came round, what did they show you to suggest that your house is worth 2 million plus? Can you elaborate on that? And not one of them were able to say, this is why I think your house is worth 2.1 million or £2 million. Not one. And he said, you're the only one that showed me any of like the data analogy. You're the only one that shared any of the price per square foot of the other listings. You're the only one that's pointed out sort of start asking price and end sale price. Because there was about 4 or 5 that have sold that all started at like 2 million plus and have ended up at like 1.6s and 1.7s. And the price per square foot took it in at around 1.75. And they want to move. They're very motivated, and him and his wife were there. And they're like, yeah, we get it. That's kind of we've actually done all our numbers based on 1.5 million as a worst case. But we were thinking more like what you've said, and then you just get 3 agents in who all say the same thing, 2+, but without really justifying it. But the motivation isn't to get 2.5 million for it and sit on the market for 2 years, which is something that we're going to come on to. It's to get the house sold, and do it properly. And then he started feeding back then about marketing and obviously the options he's got. And that day he'd had a viewing with us because he's viewing 4 of our houses, and he'd already commented to say the 4 that we've got all stand out from a marketing point of view, which was really nice feedback. He'd also said on the phone, the speed at which you get back to me is incredibly quick. You know, everything's automated, and your team are ringing me back. They're very polite. And then Kate went and did a viewing the same morning, and she did a really great job with his client. And he asked her some questions about boundaries and things like that. She got back to him within 20 minutes about the boundaries. She didn't know the answer to the question, but she went back to him within 20 minutes. He was super impressed with that. And then the thing that really sold it to him was she gave him the brochure, and he said it's another layer. And he was telling me why he wants to use me, essentially. So he's gone from using Yopa at 2,500 to pay. I'll just say it, that the fee's going to be 30 grand plus.
Yeah.
So the difference, and the 3 mindsets of those agents were, I'm going to do a cheap fee because the value's high.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. So those 2 experiences this week. There.
Dave, can I pick up on something?
Yes, you can.
You just said mindset.
Yes.
And I think it's worth mentioning that at our mastermind.
Yes.
In 2 weeks, we've got a mindset coach who's coming to coach our members and our members' teams. Is the idea are around mindset, because it's all mindset. I mean, you need to have the quality marketing, you need to have everything we teach, in the background, but it is mindset. Fee is mindset. It's believing that you can get the money, believing you can get the fee, and then showing the client why it's value for money, but it's being confident with charging it.
But it's also easier to get those fees at the upper end, though, mate, as well, isn't it?
Of course, but it's still mindset, isn't it, mate? Because the people don't, do they?
No.
Agents don't quote the high fees at the higher end.
Yeah, it is.
Because they don't think they can get it.
I listened to your podcast last week, lads.
Best podcast ever. On it,
yeah. And normally I would say it was the worst podcast ever because I wasn't on it. But it was really, really good. And I think it's probably because Ian was speaking a little bit more than he does. He's normally very silent.
Yeah.
But you were on one last week, and it was very, very good. But you're right. The mindset thing it's huge. But I have to say, it's like anything. Once you've nailed your proposition and how you look and all that sort of stuff, it comes so much easier because you're almost walking around with your chest puffed out because you're like, well, I know that we can't do any more. Our marketing's the best out there. So when you sat down with that client, you will give off a level of confidence because you know that you can back it up. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and you say that, but that isn't what most agents do who have good quality marketing and who could charge the higher fees today. They don't do that.
You're right. Sorry, you're right. I get what your point is. So you're right, because a lot of people will have great marketing, but you're right.
And are good agents and are worth the money, but they don't ask for the money. They don't ask for the fee. Yeah. And it's mindset. It's because they don't think. It's because they fear rejection.
They do, and they're going into it knowing that their competition are going to be charging.
Yeah,
and I've done it. I've gone into valuations. To be honest, I went to this one a little bit kind of like, am I wasting my time?
Yeah,
because of the 3 things he told me. I just thought the differential is going to be so much bigger.
Yeah, I get that.
He just bought into everything we did, and then it was down to me then to just demonstrate our worth and what we do. And one comment that I've had a couple of times this year, and one person actually left some feedback, a review, and it's that I've had a word used twice this year that's made me think, right, okay. And they've said I've come across calm in the valuation.
That's nice.
Yeah, and I think what they mean is it's kind of it is what it is. I am quite calm. I've not got, Tom Panos calls it commission breath, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So you're not going into it thinking I've got to get this, I've got to get the money, and I've got to get as much as I can. I have a way of just delivering the facts and stats, and that's just what it is. I went to a valuation yesterday as well on our other brand, on the Wheel OK brand, and I've done all the analysis. I've done proper detailed research on this house. I know the area well. We've sold 2 on the street, on the road. This one's a bit bigger, and it's a nice house. There's lots of unsold houses already. And when we got down to the nitty gritty, loved what we do. We got on really well. And valuation, I went, so, probably looking in around the 550 mark, maybe 575, 555, 75, based on all the data and analysis that we've done. I was like, right, okay. So I've had 2 other agents out, and one of them said 675, and the other one said 640. It's miles. I just know it's miles off. And there's others like it that have sat around for a year or 2. And like I said, the way I said to him, in exactly the same way, in that calm way, I guess, that I can understand it. If you've got me coming in here and saying that your house is only worth 550, 575, and somebody else is confidently telling you that it's 660 or 640, of course you're going to want to maybe scratch that itch, as I always say. But have they backed it up? And the answer again was no, they haven't. But he'll probably end up going with them because they've gone so high, which I'm quite happy with. But the mindset thing is right, Ian. You've got to back yourself, and sometimes it's all right to get it second time around. That's the other one.
It is, but you don't want it second time around.
You don't want it second time around.
We all say that, and and obviously it's true. If some of them do, you do get some of them back second time around, but you want it the right price, full fee.
I do think that the mindset of getting it second time around is not a bad thing.
No, true. And letting it go, definitely when it's way overpriced, letting it go is the right thing to do. And just keeping in touch with them to make sure they don't reduce with the agent they've chosen. That's the key. But yeah, mindset's a massive one. So if you are considering joining us, now is a superb time to do that because of the mastermind in a couple of weeks. So the mastermind is right near Manchester Piccadilly Station. So it's very accessible from anywhere in the country. And it'll be a great session, not only on that, but also street and the new technologies they brought in recently as well. So I just wanted to mention that, Dave, when you mentioned mindset.
Yes.
Right, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk. Where are we going to go to this? I think it was managing stock and feedback and stuff, wasn't it? We were going to talk about.
Yeah,
I do think it's quite poignant.
Ian had said, and I think it'll be quite refreshing for some people to hear that Ian's struggling to sell some stock. So he mentioned obviously that you've got a bit more stock that you like. Can I just say I quite like it? It's great that when JK has a bad month, I'm able to go.
Yes,
you've had a bad month. Ian can't sell any stock. Get in.
Somebody actually said to me last week, we had some feedback on the pod last week that there wasn't enough barn conversions mentioned last week. So
no,
I think that's my problem.
Yeah, it's funny. I've not been to that many big barns recently, but
you don't have to do your voice, mate.
Yeah, it's your voice, mate. You don't have to try and put it on.
Yeah,
it's a first world problem. I sort of suggested this topic, didn't I, today? Just because it's something we go through all the time as agents, and I certainly went through it at pretty much exactly the same time last year, which is that we'd sold loads in the first couple of months of the year. So our available stock had come down a bit, which is quite nice in a way, because you've got less clients to update every week. And then the good weather starts to come and you're out doing vals, and I've listed loads of really nice stuff in the last couple of months. So we put loads of nice stuff on the market, and now we've got a glut of available houses. And I'm in the mindset, as it were, of thinking, flipping heck, where are the next lot of sales coming from? And I know that as long as you keep doing the right thing, the sales will come. And then when you've sold a glut of them, your next worry will be that you've not got enough listings coming on. So, it's cyclical, but really it's about how you manage the clients, isn't it, in this period, to make sure that they understand that it's going to happen. You just don't know when, and also that you're pushing for any price changes that need to happen as well. I went to see an example of this is we've got one on the market at, I won't say the price because it'll be obvious which house it is, but it's a high-end home. And we took it off another agent who'd had it on for, 6 months, probably more than that, with very little interest, poor quality marketing, usual stuff. Anyway, took it on the market for 150 grand less, which felt like a decent change that might get it in front of new people. And it basically hasn't worked. Now, it's only been 2 months, but I'm impatient, and I want the sellers to know that I'm impatient. So I went for a brew with the seller the other day, and this guy's a property developer as well. So, he's very savvy. He's already building his next one. So he's not sort of penny pinching, and he understands that if it's not sold, it's the price with our marketing on it. So I've pushed for quite a big chunky reduction. We're talking more than £250,000 reduction. Yeah. And he was really, really receptive to it. And I think it's because I went to see him, I proactively made myself available to go and see him. On Monday, I did the client update and I said, let's go for a coffee and talk about it. John, he's not called John. And I was looking in he said, yeah, come for a coffee. Looking in my diary, I was thinking, bloody hell, I've no space in my diary for the next 10 days. I was thinking, I can't say to him, I'm going to come in 10 days. So I found time the next day to go and see him. So I said, I'll come and see you tomorrow, John. Found time, quick coffee, talks it through him face to face. And he's coming back to me today with his decision, but I think he'll do it. But it was by being proactive and going out and sitting face to face and talking to them. And I know that they did not have that from the previous agent. It was sat on for months.
Can I say in the mid-market as well, and I think this will be really beneficial, and I'm only really repeating what we've said on a pod a couple of weeks ago, and it's something that I've been using, because a lot of people say to us, what do you say when you update clients each week? What do you give to them? But one of the things that I've really been hammering home recently is, there was a soundbite that we put out on the pod the other week about, when Sam and Dave were talking about the mid-market and, how everyone in the mid-market, 1.8% interest rates 2.5-3 years ago, they're now on 3.84% interest rates now. And, that's one part of the puzzle. So, what was £1,500 a month then is now £3,000 a month now. So that's the buying power that's reduced. The second part of the process is a lot of people in that mid-market are also putting their children in private education. So there's another 20% that goes on to it. Going to the supermarket, even people that shop in like Aldi and Lidl now, with families, they can't get away from the till without £100. You look at aggregate inflation since 2020, it's over 33%. Everything's more expensive. Electricity's more expensive. Gas is more expensive. Petrol's more expensive. You name it. Everything's gone up. Everyone's being squeezed in that middle market. So, whilst the values have stayed relatively consistent, the buying power has been massively reduced. And, even your average Joe Public buyer now is looking online and seeing that prices are constantly being reduced, and it's, do you want to sell your, what's the motivation? Do you need to move? Yes, I need to move. Right. Okay. This is what we need to do, and I had a conversation with someone the other day and it was, why don't we just take 10k off the asking price and see how we get? And, when you're talking about 850, 900 grand, it's a waste of time. 1% is going to do nothing. I said, realistically, we need to chop 50 off because that is a gap where, somebody can now reach to. This particular house needs a few bits and pieces doing. The previous price, if you'd done all those bits and pieces, you'd really be pushing the top end, which tells its own story. And you look at the buyer and the buyer demographic of who's going to buy that house. And I think taking 50k off the asking price is really going to sort of unlock the door now and get more people through the door. And I had a really good chat with them. And I think, they just got it. And using Phil M. Jones's language, how open-minded are you to a new strategy on price? Because people want to consider themselves open-minded. And, when you start opening up and you've also got to be able to push back as well. When you start having the conversation and someone says, well, what do you think about 20 grand? No, John. Yeah. It could be 50. That's what we need to do. That's my expert opinion and advice. And the reason being is, if we drop 10k, then we're not going to achieve anything. All we're going to do is reduce. And the thing is, with the way that Rightmove works, Rightmove doesn't necessarily sell your house, but it's where a lot of people go to look. And if we want to go out in all of the email alerts for people that haven't registered with us or haven't inquired, we want to get in front of those people, we need to reduce by a minimum of 2%. So by doing that, we'll get into email alerts, but 2% isn't going to do anything at this moment in time. Because, if we're talking about 900 grand here, 2%, what's that? 18 grand? If someone's got 900 grand, they've got 880 grand, they'd probably take a chance. But the reality is going from 900 to 850 is a much better shout, because the gap between, if you look at here's another thing for you: when you register people in your database, people are you have the conversation with them and ask the right questions. What are you looking up to? Oh, well, we're looking up to, I don't know, 900, but 850 would be more comfortable. Or we're looking up to 850, but 900. There's, if you have the right conversations with people will say things without you actually registering what they're saying. I went to a gentleman yesterday, and he said we'd like to spend, ideally, we can go up to 1.2, but I'd like to spend 1.1. And I said, so what have you been looking at? And he showed me all the houses he's been looking at, and they've all come down in price, come down and down and down in price. And the reality is, I asked him a question. I said, that one there at 1.2, if that was 1.1, would you buy it? And he said, yeah, no problem. I'd make an offer. So why haven't you been to go and see it? Oh, well, they're not going to take 1.1, are they? I think that's, a lot of buyers are in that psyche that there aren't huge discounts to be made off properties, which is why I think pricing to entice is so important, and getting people through the door, because a lot of the times that people go through the door, if they're the house is, let's say for example, offers over 1.25, you might get people through the door that have got 1.25, and that's what they've set as their budget, but they may stretch themselves if they have to go over because they really want the house, and that's why it's really important. The other thing I was just going to say, and I'll open it up to the floor afterwards as well, is just about managing clients and also feedback. Because I've heard a lot of feedback from clients that I've been to see recently, where I'm second agent in, and we've all heard feedback's non-existent. No one gets back to them, this, that, and the other. But also the other feedback's been, well, everyone that's viewed it's loved it. Well, if they've loved it, why haven't you sold it? And you just need to get granular and a lot more direct with feedback. So, when someone views the house, I like to try and get feedback in the house, because I think sometimes, after you've left the viewing, it can be too late. And you can ask them questions like, how does it feel compared to the photos now that you're here? Don't be afraid to ask them. And again, we're talking about being afraid of rejection. Ask them when they're in a house, do you think this is a place that you could see yourself living in? If not, why not? What's good? What's not so good? Asking those sort of questions. And, if you know what they liked about it, then you can feed that back, should you so choose. But also, it's really important to feed back what they don't like. So
definitely, we always. It's about managing emotions as well, isn't it? You don't want the seller to become so disheartened that they take it off the market or change agents, but they do need to know the negative feedback. So it's giving them it in a balanced way. So quite often we will say to people, they did think it was lovely. They thought it was a lovely home. However, for them, the kitchen's too small, or for them, they felt the price was too high, or for them, you know what I mean? So you need to give it in a balanced way to keep. So you can't just go,
they thought it was rubbish and your house is awful. Of course you wouldn't. But
even though that's sometimes true, that they thought it was, they need to know the negatives, but it needs to be tinged with a bit of positivity to keep them motivated. And,
of course, no one wants to hear their house is trash from someone. Of course you don't.
No. And that's most of the homes we sell aren't trash. Most of the homes we sell aren't trash, are they? By we, I mean us three, you know what I mean? It's not like we're selling dumps anymore.
They aren't trash. It sounded like you said they are trash.
Oh, no. No, they're not, obviously. But, I think giving it in a balanced way is important. And being frank, if it smells of dog, if it's a lovely country farmhouse, but it smells of dog, well, they need to know that.
Yeah. but also price feedback's important. And sometimes, if someone's going to offer on something, I wouldn't necessarily ask for feedback, on price.
No,
but,
definitely not.
Especially post-viewing, if you do manage to get hold of them, I would ask them, would you have bought it if it was less money? And then sometimes people will say, well, if it was 1.1. And I say, why is that?
It's a great question, that. And not everybody will ask it. People could do worse than writing down some questions like that. I bet people don't have it. And more so for the team as well, to get that sort of thing. Because I asked you about a question a couple of weeks that you asked in the room on valuations. When I listen back, it's kind of like, well, it seems obvious, and those are the conversations you should be having in a room. But I'm not convinced everybody does. And even that little question there that you just said, it's a provocative question. It gets the person thinking, and it gives you really good feedback to give to your client, and you can give honest feedback. So go on, what you would say again?
Which part? About the price?
Yeah.
So if someone says that, we liked it, but, the kitchen was too small, or it was this or it was that, so I would say to them, well, is it a price issue or is it a kitchen issue? Is it, when you say the kitchen was too small, do you mean the kitchen was too small compared to other houses I've seen for less money? And if that's then the case, if this house was, what would this house have to be for you to buy it? Did you like it enough to buy it if the price was right? And they'll then come at you and go, well, yeah, if it was 650 or if it was 1.2, then I said, well, then I would say to them, do you want me to ask the question for you sometimes? Because you never know, sometimes we know a little bit more than they do. If you're about to knock something down from 1.5 to offers over 1.25 or something, for example, and you know that they'd potentially offer 1.3, 1.35, there's a conversation to be had. And I just think it's worthwhile doing and having that conversation.
Good stuff.
We're nearing the end, but I think a lot of people are probably in a similar boat to us at the minute, which is that it's that time of year where you've got a lot of listings, and it's about managing your clients, it's about giving good constructive feedback, it's about getting price reductions where you can, and it's about holding firm, everyone, because it's cyclical and you will sell them. I say it to my common stock phrase to sellers is that viewers are like buses, that you get nothing, and then, as we all know, in 2 weeks you'll have 3 on one day and you'll sell it. Yeah. And sales are like that, aren't they? You'll have a period where you don't really sell many, but then suddenly you'll sell a ton, and then your next thing will be, where are my new listings coming from? So the message I want to get across was, be good at keeping clients happy, be good at getting price changes when you can, and just be strong in your mindset that you will sell them and it will come back.
Yeah, and the reduction thing, I know you spoke about that. I just had to nip off on the pod a little bit, so I hope I'm not repeating myself. But mastering the art of reduction is key, and there is a strategy that you can follow. It's not just about asking the question whether you're happy with the price and all that sort of stuff. You've got to master that and get people thinking differently, asking different questions, hypothetical scenarios. If we sat here and I've got a client actually, it's my most expensive house. He's on at 2.5 million. He actually we had a 2.3 offer after about 4 weeks of marketing, and he wanted more than 2.5 at the time. He's had some very, very tragic circumstances that have changed the direction in which he's going, but he's got an offer at around 2.2 million now, and we might be doing a deal on that. And 8 months ago, so that's how long we've been managing him for, he could have taken 2.3, which would have been obviously a better result at that time. So it's about, I think you've got to reframe people's minds, and if you're still in this position in 6 months' time, how would that make you feel? How does that impact your lifestyle? Are we able to get you more off your onward purchase if you're buying on? It's about understanding what your client's motivations are. There's the odd one or two where they will just sit. We've had one in particular at 600,000. She sat for ages, and she's eventually got 610. But it's taken the market to catch up with her to get that. And others, you've just got to plant the seed. How do you feel about being in this position in however many months? And then reframing the mind about, the asking price and the valuation, the two different things. The asking price is there just to generate interest. And if we drop it another 50 grand and it's still not getting interest, well, it was never worth 50 grand more in the first place. All that kind of stuff. We've done that to death, but definitely mindset, definitely just keep in touch with your clients.
Cool. Right.
They will come around again.
Excellent. Right. Well, it's been a pleasure, lads. And I'll look forward to seeing your faces next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye all.